Hello, and welcome to English Through Stories, the channel where you can listen to engaging episodes, enjoy a variety of topics, and improve English fluency. Each one repeats useful grammar, phrases, and vocabulary in context, so you can start to remember them naturally and use them yourself.
Scene 1. A New Life in Rome. Marcus stood at the window of his small bakery. He looked out at the busy street in Subura. 6 years had fled from Pompeii. Mount Vesuvius had destroyed his hometown. The memories still came in his dreams, but Rome had given him a new beginning. He listened to the carts as they rolled over the stone streets. He heard children laughing in the narrow alleys. Women carried jars of water on their heads and talked about their families. Men came from work at the port, the markets, or the construction sites. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the smoke of cooking food, the cries of animals, and the dust that rose from the street. Marcus wiped his hands on his apron and smiled. He had built a good life here. His bakery was small, with only 2 ovens, but every day people came to buy his bread. Old Claudia always bought 3 loaves for her large family. Young Lucius, who worked at the fountain, came by after his shift. Even the children knew Marcus. They waved when they saw him at the door. The sun set behind the tall buildings. The August heat still hung in the air like a heavy blanket. Even with the shutters open, the bakery was hot from the ovens. Marcus shut the shutters and prepared to rest. Tomorrow would bring the same work. Rising early, lighting the ovens, mixing the dough, and serving his neighbors. That night would be different from all the others. That night would transform everything. Scene 2. The Discovery. Marcus grabbed his cloak and ran into the street. His sandals hit the stones as he moved toward the growing light. The orange glow grew brighter every minute, and now he smelled smoke in the air. It was thick and bitter. His eyes watered and his throat burned. Other people came out of their houses. Doors opened and worried faces appeared. Some people still wore dinner clothes. Others had already gone to sleep and now stood in the street in their night clothes. "Where is it coming from?" asked old Claudia, his neighbor. Her voice shook with fear. Marcus pointed toward the end of the street. "There, near the market square." "We must see how bad it is." But even as he spoke, he feared the truth. He walked quickly toward the fire, and others followed him. The smoke grew thicker. People coughed and covered their faces with cloaks. The crackling of flames became a roar. They heard wood breaking and saw beams fall. When they turned into the square, they found the full disaster. 3 buildings already burned fiercely. The flames rose high into the night sky. Sparks and burning wood flew into the air like deadly snow. The fire had begun in the tavern on the corner. Now it had already spread to the pottery shop and to a family home. People ran in all directions. Some carried children. Others took bundles of clothes or tried to pull heavy carts. A woman cried for her missing cat. An old man sat on the ground, staring at the fire that had taken his house. Marcus felt his chest grow tight. The scene brought back Pompeii, the panic, the terror, the helplessness. He had once only fled, powerless. But he was not the same man now. In Rome, he had learned to be strong, to lead, to act. He had seen that sometimes disaster could be fought if people worked together. "We must organize," he shouted. "If we wait, the fire will spread to the houses." "The wind is already pushing the flames toward our homes." A young man shook his head. The fire is too big. We should run. Save ourselves while we still can. Marcus looked him in the eye. Running will not save our homes. Running will not save our community. We must fight together, or we will lose everything we have built. The wind blew stronger, carrying sparks to the wooden roofs nearby. Some sparks caught and began to smoke. Time was running out. Let's pause here. Marcus has just stepped forward to organize the crowd. This is a great moment for English past tense practice. Marcus said, "We have to organize everyone." The conjugated forms are say, said, said. So, he said we must act. He saw the wind pushing the flames. The conjugated forms are see, saw, seen. So, he saw the danger. The years in Rome made him stronger. The conjugated forms are make, made, made. So, hard years made him calm. I'm thinking, if Rome had linked in, Marcus's profile would read, baker by trade, commander of buckets by accident, and about panic. If you've ever seen your oven suddenly make a big flame when you light it, you know the feeling. Marcus stayed calm while others panicked. Let's get back to the fire in Rome. Scene 3. Taking charge. Marcus stepped forward into the center of the crowd. The noise of the fire and the shouting of the people rose around him. His heart beat fast, but he forced his voice to be strong. "Listen to me," he cried. "We can stop this fire, but only if we work together. No one can fight it alone, but together we can save our homes, our families, and our community." Faces turned toward him. Some people already knew him from the bakery. They had bought his bread for years. Others were strangers who had just come because of the fire. Marcus saw fear in their eyes, but also a spark of hope. He took a deep breath. "I survived Pompeii," he said. His voice was clear now. "I saw what happens when people panic. I saw what happens when everyone runs in different directions. I felt what it was like to lose everything. But I also know this. Tonight, we can fight. We can act. We can protect what we have built." The words spread through the crowd. A few people nodded. One older man stepped forward. Marcus recognized him. He ran a small wine shop in the square. "Tell us what to do," the man said. "We will follow." Marcus's eyes moved quickly across the square. He saw the burning buildings, the sparks flying, the frightened families. He thought fast. "We need water," he shouted. "The fountain still works." "We must form lines from the fountain to the fire. Buckets, pots, jars, anything that can hold water. Pass them from hand to hand. Do not fight alone. Make a chain. Make a system." He pointed to a group of young men. "You, go to every shop and house, find containers. Bring them here fast. We need dozens." He turned to the women. "Take the children and the old people to safety. Do not leave anyone behind. Then bring wet clothes. We can cover our faces and protect ourselves from the smoke." To another group, he said, "Climb onto the roofs if you can do it safely. Pour water, soak the wood. We must create a wet barrier so the flames cannot cross." Some people still stood frozen. Others began to move. Marcus knew he had to show them. He ran to the fountain, filled a bucket, and carried it toward the flames. The bucket was heavy, but he gave it to the man nearest him. "Like this," he shouted. "One to another, until the water reaches the fire." At first, only a few people joined him, but soon 3 lines of men, women, and children formed, stretching from the fountain to the burning tavern. Buckets passed from hand to hand. Water flew onto the fire. Steam rose into the air. The people saw it working, and their fear began to change into determination. Marcus stood on a stone to be seen. Yes! This is how we fight. Do not stop. Keep the buckets moving. Keep the water flowing. The chains grew faster, stronger, and more efficient. The people were no longer just neighbors or strangers. They were part of something greater. They were learning the power of coordination. Scene 4. Fighting the flames. The work was hard and dangerous. The fire sent thick smoke into the people's faces. Sparks flew through the air and landed on clothes and hair. The heat was so strong that no one could stay near the flames for long. They ran forward, through water, then fell back again, coughing and breathing quickly for air. Marcus moved quickly from one bucket chain to another. He checked that the water kept flowing. When a chain broke, he shouted, helped, and set it right again. When people grew tired, he gave them courage. "We are making progress," he called. "Look." On the left side, the fire has become smaller. Do not stop now. But the fire was fierce. The wind blew harder, and flames spread to a fourth building, a carpenter's workshop filled with wood. The sight made Marcus's stomach twist. He knew they needed more than just buckets. He climbed onto a pile of stones to see better. From above, he saw the way the flames moved. The fire was now pushing toward the north, toward houses where many families lived. "Change direction!" Marcus shouted. "Send more water to the north side. If the fire reaches those houses, dozens of families will lose everything." The people heard him and shifted their lines. Water went to the threatened roofs. It was now a race between the fire and the people. Could the water create a wet wall before the flames took the homes? Marcus stood high on the stones, sweat and smoke covering him. His skin burned, but he stayed. He thought of Pompeii. There, he had only watched helplessly as his city fell. But this fire was different. This time he could fight. This time he could lead. As he looked, he felt something new. Power. Purpose. The people were listening to him. They were not strangers now. They were fighters side by side, learning the strength of teamwork. Quick pause. The fire almost spread east, but the barrier held. This is a perfect chance to practice action verbs of change. They brought food and tools. The conjugated forms are bring, brought, brought. So they brought supplies. Marcus led group east. The conjugated forms are led, led, led. So he led a new team. The barrier held. The conjugated forms are hold, held, held. So the barrier held the flames. And notice the volunteers. It's interesting how many people suddenly become volunteers when the fire is on their street. And they had to wet down the roofs. Imagine ancient Romans with buckets making their own system to throw water. No pipes, just teamwork. Let's return to the story. Scene 5. The turning point. As the night continued, more people came to help. The news of the fire had spread beyond the market square. Neighbors from distant streets arrived, carrying buckets, tools, and even food. Some brought water and bread. Others gave their strength and time. Marcus quickly organized the newcomers. He told them where to go and what to do. Some took places in the bucket lines. Others went to move families to safety. A third group helped wet down roofs and walls so the fire could not cross. "Cover the roofs with wet cloth," Marcus shouted. "Do not let the fire jump. Protect every wall, every roof." The spirit of teamwork grew stronger. People who had never spoken before now worked side by side. Rich merchants stood beside poor laborers. Children ran with small jars of water, proud to help. Old men who could not lift buckets kept watch and led the children with calm voices. Marcus saw something he had never seen before in Rome. Strangers had become partners. Fear had turned into courage. The whole community now fought as one, but just when victory seemed close, the wind changed direction. Instead of pushing flames north, it now drove them east, toward another group of houses. Families lived there. Families who were fighting the fire in the square. If their homes burned, they would have to abandon the fight to save their children. Marcus's eyes caught the danger at once. He felt fear again, but he also knew what to do. "New plan," he cried. "Half of you stay here and fight. The rest, follow me to the eastern houses." He ran with his group toward the new danger. They moved carts, barrels, and wood away from the houses. They dug sand and poured water to make a barrier. They soaked the roofs until water dripped from every edge. The flames got closer. The heat beat against their faces. A few people almost gave up. "It is too strong," they shouted. Marcus refused to surrender. He shouted back, "Hold your ground! We are stronger than this fire." Then, just as the flames reached the wet barrier, the wind shifted again. This time it pushed the fire away from the houses. The barrier held. The flames could not pass. "It's working," someone cried. "We are turning it back." A cheer rose through the crowd. People hugged one another, their faces black with smoke but shining with pride. The fire had not won. The people had. Scene 6. Community united. With the wind now on their side, the bucket lines became faster and more efficient. Water hit the flames and stayed on the wood instead of turning to steam. The heat fell a little. The smoke grew thinner. Marcus went from line to line and kept everyone focused. When a line broke, he set it right. When someone felt weak or scared, he gave them a short order and a kind word. "You matter. Stay in the line." His voice carried over the square. He saw the power of teamwork growing. People who hardly knew each other now worked side by side. A rich merchant stood next to a porter. A mother held a bucket while her daughter ran messages. Boys brought small jars of water. Old men who could not lift much still kept watch and helped with simple coordination. "Food and drink," someone shouted. A young woman from the market came with a basket of bread and cups. She had organized a small kitchen in the corner. A few neighbors prepared water and simple soup. It was meaningful help. It kept spirits strong. Marcus looked across the lines and found problems fast. "Shift left," he called. "Move 2 people to the eastern line." The changes made the flow smoother. Buckets went hand to hand without gaps. The people felt their capacity rising with each minute. "Cover the roof!" a man cried as sparks flew again. 2 teenagers climbed and laid wet cloth over the dry boards. The wet surface became a barrier. Sparks landed and died there. A child slipped, and a woman caught him by the arm. "You're safe," she said. The child smiled and ran back to the small jars line. No one left their post for long. The work was steady, simple, and brave. Little by little, the fire lost its strength. The left side went quiet first, then the middle. Only the far corner still burned and threw smoke. Buckets flew faster toward that spot. Water fell again and again. Steam rose and the flames shrank. Marcus stood on a stone so all could see him. "You're doing it," he said. "Stay together." This is our community. We will rebuild what we must. But tonight, we save what we can. Faces black with black dust turned upward. People nodded. Some laughed through tears. Fear became courage. Strangers became neighbors. Neighbors became a team. A boy no more than 10 came with a small bucket. Marcus! Where should this go? Marcus knelt and told him, East line, but keep away from the flames. The boy ran off, proud. Marcus felt the strength of the group. It was real. The lines held. The last high flames fell to glowing coals. The roar faded into a whisper. Hands shook, then stilled. Someone said, We did it. Another answered, Together. Marcus knew the truth. The night had revealed something strong. It was not only water and walls, it was shared duty, clear roles, and quiet trust. This was cooperation with a purpose. This was unity. It could transform a street of wooden homes into a living shield. He raised his hand. Keep lines in place until all embers are out, he said. Do not stop until the last spark is gone. The people stayed calm and careful. They checked roofs, corners, carts, and doors. They found small fires and put them out before they grew. By the time the sky lightened, the square looked different. It still held damage, but it also held order. Teams stood ready. Voices were firm. The plan worked. Their coordination became a habit. Marcus felt tired at last, but proud. Remember this, he told the nearest line. What we did tonight can be done again. We can prepare, we can train, we can facilitate faster action next time. Heads nodded. The message was simple and strong. They had not only fought a fire, they had built a way to fight any fire. Together. Let's pause here. The sun is rising and the fire is nearly out. This is a good spot to practice verbs that show success. They found only small flames left. The conjugated forms are find, found, found. So, they found hope at dawn. 2 buildings were lost. The conjugated forms are lose, lost, lost. So, the tavern was lost. Many homes were saved. The conjugated forms are save, saved, saved. So, they saved their neighborhood. And rebuild? Romans always rebuild taverns first. A house could wait, but wine, never. Some houses had heavy damage. Imagine neighbors arguing whose house looked worse. No insurance, only sympathy. Now back to Marcus and the neighborhood at dawn. Scene 7. Victory at dawn. The first light of dawn slowly came to the sky. Marcus and his neighbors still worked, but the fire was almost beaten. Only small flames remained, and the bucket lines easily put them out. Marcus stood in the square, black with smoke, his clothes wet from water and sweat. He looked around at the results. 4 buildings had been damaged. The tavern where the fire had begun was gone, nothing left but burned stones and ash. The pottery shop next to it had also fallen. 2 other buildings were half ruined, but they could be repaired. But the fire had not spread further. The rest of the neighborhood was safe. More than 20 houses that had been in danger still stood. Families still had their homes. Most important of all, no one had died. People had been hurt by smoke and heat, but no lives were lost. The chains had kept the workers safe while they fought the flames. We did it, said the old man from the wine shop. His face was black with black dust, but his eyes shone with pride. We really did it. We saved our neighborhood. Marcus nodded. He was too tired to speak. His legs felt heavy, and his arms hung like stones. But inside he knew he had never felt such pride. All around, families came together. They hugged, some cried, some even laughed. A woman who had lost her home said, We will rebuild. We will help each other. Tonight has shown us that we can do anything if we stand together. Her words spread through the people. Heads nodded. Voices rose with promises to share wood, food, and tools. Some already planned how to reconstruct the broken houses. Others spoke of making the roofs stronger, of leaving more space between walls. The night had taught them lessons about fire and about coordination. As the sun rose higher, strangers from other streets arrived to see what had happened. Some came with gifts of water or bread. Others simply looked at the black ruins and understood that something important had happened here. Children pointed at Marcus and whispered to their parents. Adults came to shake his hand. Some thanked him. But Marcus knew the truth. He had not done it alone. Every bucket that was passed, every child who ran, every hand that held the line, that was the real victory. The hero was not Marcus. The hero was the community itself. Scene 8. Recognition and reflection. In the days after the fire, people came again and again to Marcus's bakery. They brought food, coins, or small gifts. Others simply spoke about the night, telling how they had felt, what they had seen, and how grateful they were. Marcus always listened, but he said the same thing. We did this together. I only helped organize. The courage and strength came from all of you. The story of the fire spread quickly across Rome. People in other districts heard about the Subura and how it had been saved. Some came to visit. Others asked Marcus questions about how the neighborhood had fought together. Soon, invitations were given. Marcus was asked to speak at meetings in other parts of the city. He went to forums, temples, and markets. He told the same story each time. The fire was strong, but the people were stronger. They stood as one. That is what saved us. A week later, a group of local leaders arrived at his bakery. They sat at a wooden table with Marcus and shared their plan. We want a permanent council, said a wealthy merchant. We need a body that will coordinate our actions in future disasters. You proved that you can lead. You have the respect of the community. We ask you to guide this council. Marcus looked at them in silence. He remembered Pompeii when no one had led. He remembered the helplessness, the fear, the chaos. Here the people had not only fought the fire, they had organized. They had transformed fear into strength. Finally, Marcus spoke. I will do it, but only if the council belongs to everyone. My role will be to facilitate, not to command. Leadership must serve, not control. The leaders nodded in agreement. The decision was made. Marcus felt the weight of it. He had once been a refugee who had only fled. Now, he was a man who stood at the center of a reborn community. Marcus is now teaching brigades across Rome. This is a strong moment to practice leadership verbs. Marcus taught new districts. The conjugated forms are teach, taught, taught. So he taught bucket chains. He went across the city. The conjugated forms are go, went, gone. So he went to train others. Teams began practicing. The conjugated forms are begin, began, begun. So they began weekly practice. And public safety? Marcus gave Rome a fire brigade centuries before fire trucks. And the word cooperate fits. Romans argued over bread prices every day, but when the flames came, they actually cooperated. Maybe crisis is the best teacher. Let's see how Marcus's story ends. Scene 9. A leader emerges. The bakery became a meeting place in the weeks after the fire. Neighbors came not just for bread, but to talk, to plan, and to share ideas. Marcus often sat at a small wooden table, listening as people spoke about problems and solutions. "We need to train," one man said. "Next time, we must be ready faster." "We should store buckets and ropes," another added. "We could prepare food in advance," suggested a woman. Marcus heard them all. He wrote notes in a simple book. He knew these talks mattered. They were not just about fire. They were about the future of their community. Soon, the council that had been promised met for the first time. Merchants, workers, elders, and young men all gathered. Marcus was chosen to lead, but he reminded them, "I am not here to rule. I am here to serve." Leadership means listening. It means facilitating. It means giving strength, not taking it. The council agreed, and their work began. They set rules for emergencies. They made teams for carrying water, protecting children, and guarding supplies. They built storage for tools and ropes. Word of this council soon spread through Rome. Visitors from other neighborhoods came to ask questions. They wanted to learn how Subura had fought the fire and how it had organized. Some leaders even offered Marcus gifts if he would train their people. Marcus always gave the same answer. "I will help, but I cannot save your streets. You must save them yourselves." I can only show you how he remembered Pompeii, where no council had stood, no plan had existed. There, people had run, cried, and lost everything. Here, things were different. Here, disaster had become a teacher. Fear had turned into strength. Strangers had become allies. At night, Marcus sometimes wrote in his journal. One line he kept returning to was simple. "The fire was not the enemy. The fire was the lesson. The real enemy was panic. The real victory was unity." Scene 10. A new beginning. That evening, after the council had met and the plans had been made, Marcus closed his bakery and walked home. The street was quiet now. The smell of smoke still hung in the air, but the stars above shone clear. In his small room above the shop, Marcus sat at his table. He took out his journal, the same one he had carried since Pompeii. The pages already held his thoughts from years past, memories of fear, loss, and survival. Tonight, he wanted to write something new. He wrote slowly. The fire was not the end. It was the beginning. It showed us our strength. It taught us to work together. It gave us courage to face what comes next. The flames lasted one night, but what we built will last for generations. He paused and looked out the window. In the street below, he saw neighbors greeting each other, still talking about the night. He heard children laughing as they played near the fountain. People who had once been strangers now spoke as friends. Marcus remembered the boy who had run with the small bucket, proud to help. He remembered the women who had cooked food for the workers, the men who had carried water until their arms gave out, the elders who had kept watch. He knew that this unity was stronger than fire. He turned back to his journal. I came to Rome as a refugee. I had only fled. Now I stay as a leader. I will continue to bake bread, but I will also train others. We will prepare for danger, and we will not be afraid. Together we will create systems of strength, of trust, and of unity. The fire has transformed us. It has made us more than neighbors. It has made us one people. He set down the pen and blew out the lamp. The room fell into darkness. Outside, the city of Rome still stood, alive and restless. But within this corner of Subura, Marcus felt peace. He lay down to rest. Tomorrow he would wake early and light the ovens. He would bake bread for his neighbors. But his life was larger now. He was no longer just Marcus the baker. He was Marcus, the man who had faced fire, who had led, and who had helped his community discover its true strength.